Cooper Fitch. Not nice, huh?
No, not particularly, Malcolm.
You reminded you of some less pleasant memories of your childhood.
I think so, yeah, definitely.
Anyway, listen, Trevor, thanks very much indeed for coming in. In January, we were pleased to have you in the studio to give Cooper Fitch's 2017 first half salary guide. And the projection then was for salary increases around 5 to 6%. The text lines went wild and were scathing, to say the least, with people suggesting that Cooper Fitch were extracting the proverbial, suggesting that their rises were going to be nowhere near that. 6 months later, you're back with a reassessment of the market. 2017 across the board, though, hasn't been as positive as maybe we thought in January, as many people thought or were hoping. So you're back really with a reality check and a rejig of your expectations. Did many people, first of all, see those 5 to 6% increases that you were talking about?
I think whilst a number did, I think on average we saw a flatter market than expected. I think that in January we expected that there would be a reasonable bounce in oil prices ahead of where we are today, sub $50 a barrel still. And in the overall, I think it's been a flatter year with where we predicted 5 to 6%, as you said. I think we've probably seen, or we'll see across the year, more like 2 to 3%. The economy is still performing quite well. We're seeing GDP just over 3% for non-oil products. And at 50 or just below 50, oil is stabilising. So the economy is doing quite well. We had very disappointing years in 2015 and most of 16. We expected a good bounce into the first two quarters in this year, and we haven't seen those quite come true just yet.
And you're saying the oil price there, we've been talking about that long and hard on the show, of course. So 2 to 3% increases in the first half as well. Anecdotally, a lot of people are losing their jobs. Are you seeing that? I mean, you're in the business.
Yeah, look, there are sectors that are really struggling at the moment. We see.
Put your fingers on those sectors.
So across probably the property and construction sector, surprisingly had a disappointing first half of the year. There's a lot of product coming to market, but the product that's selling in Dubai right now is probably low to mid costing product rather than some of the more luxury or luxurious products that have been built. They're not selling. So it's been pretty disappointing across P&C. We've seen probably a flatter than expected growth across the banking sector, although we are seeing just after the Eid break that's picked up quite considerably. But banking as an overall sector has had a tough first 6 months of the year, and that was one of the big areas we were quite optimistic that would see a good bounce into the first half of this year.
So banking and construction not doing well. Oil, I'm guessing, not doing very well simply because of the oil price. Yeah. Retail, hospitality also suffering. Are these sort of areas in which you're seeing people being let go still?
So oil is very, very flat. What we're seeing at the moment in oil is that people, even in the recruitment sector, are either reducing their footprint in the region or are moving out completely. There's been no real improvement in the first 6 months of this year in oil as a recruitment, and then salaries are completely flat as a result of that. So there are a number of areas that there's some level of positivity, but there are 3 big sectors or 4 big sectors that really do affect the UAE. So as I said, salaries have been much flatter than we thought it would be, and hiring trends have been flatter as a result.
Are there any sectors that have bucked that trend and done well?
Look, we see surprisingly manufacturing and digital, 2 very opposite ends of the spectrum, doing quite well. Manufacturing ahead of 2 to 3% in terms of salary growth and actual demand in jobs.
Well, what sort of people are they employing?
Look, they're probably hiring some more international talent into the region. So
engineering sort of jobs?
Engineering,
or is it lower end?
Yeah, engineering, supply chain, product and process improvement, a little bit of R&D. We could certainly do some more of that. And digital being an area that there's been quite a bit of focus on the last 12 months with most of the big banks, despite difficult times, really looking at improving their digital platform and hiring in international talent again to support that growth.
Trefor, what kind of qualifications are employers looking at these days? And I'm thinking particularly of advice to people listening, people in this studio looking to take the next stage in their careers. A few years ago, it was do an MBA. That would kickstart your career to the next level. What are you seeing people demanding, employers demanding?
So I guess it's very, very specific to the industry you're in. Look, an MBA is still a very, very worthwhile qualification, internationally recognised. I think there's some very strong demand for really good functional experience, like with the introduction of VAT at the moment. That's a massive driver in terms of job creation. We're probably seeing between 1,500 and maybe even 2,000 jobs created in the UAE alone in VAT and tax and excise duty in terms of having that specialism there. I would say right now the big demand in the future will be quite obviously around the technology and digital space. Blockchain is a big play for the region, or is likely to be big play for the region, with a big focus on what the new technologies are going to bring. If you've got a very strong technical qualification and you want to get through into leadership or management type positions, again, an MBA is probably your safest bet at the moment.
And looking at some of the other areas where things are doing particularly well, we've heard for the past 2 or 3 years that education and also healthcare have remained robust and strong. Is that still the case?
I would say stable to strong. So education is still doing well, as healthcare is likely to take is in a reasonable growth position at the moment. In the next 2 or 3 years, I'd say we'll see really strong growth in healthcare. Education is probably plateauing ever so slightly. It's had 2 or 3 very good years.
Trefor, we're out of time. We're going to have to leave it there. Thanks very much indeed for joining us this
You're very
morning.
welcome.
Trefor Murphy from Cooper Fitch. Always enjoy having you here in the Business Breakfast
Thanks,
studio.
Richard.
Time now on the Business Breakfast, fast approaching 8 o'clock. When we come back, 8:20, we continue our discussion, broadly speaking.